everybody. I am not Ashley Chea. This is Ashley Chea.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Tiffany Williams. I'm also a writer resident of Columbus and a proud supporter of Creative Control Fest. And I'm here to talk with my friend and lovely Ashley Chea. For those who don't know her, Matthias gave her a wonderful introduction, but she is just an all-around just dope creative individual. So I want to kind of jump into her journey. I first want you to talk about your motto of Watermelon Egg Rolls, create, love, empower. What does that mean, and why did you choose those three words?
Well, hi, everybody. So Create, Love, Empower came from when I first initially started Watermelon Egg Rolls. It was just because I got on Instagram and I noticed that, like, a lot of white women were being celebrated for things that black people do every single day, like making cookies and washing clothes and like just regular stuff. And they were getting like these huge brand endorsements and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, we do that every day.
Right.
But I also realized too, a lot of things, this is going all the way left, but it'll come back right. Don't worry about it. A lot of times in our culture, the things that come natural to us, we don't think to celebrate them because they're natural to us. Other people come inside of our culture and they see them and they realize how amazing they are because they're completely different from their culture, and they adapt them. Kylie Jenner, then you make a lip kit, you don't got no lips. So stuff like that happens every single day, and then you're a billionaire. Then we walking around with these big lips, not making no money off of it. So I noticed that quickly when I was on social media, and I was like, I'm going to create an environment where I celebrate women of color who are doing the things that I'm doing every day, and I know that they're doing them. So I started interviewing other women who were just had different types of jobs, like whether they were a writer or a banker, or just things that I wanted young girls to understand. There's so many different careers that you can have in all sorts of different industries. So that's kind of how Watermelon Egg Rolls came about. Okay. And just the Create, Love, Empower is, for me, I feel like everything that you create, it should be something from what you love, and it should be empowering people, no matter what that is. And if you're not creating out of love, then you shouldn't be creating, period. And that's kind of like what I tell my daughter. I'm like, if you're not saying something that is helping or healing someone, then you don't need to be talking. So that's just basically like the entire stance of my Watermelon Egg Rolls, my brand and everything, and where it came from and why I use that motto.
Okay, awesome. So as you guys can see, Ashley is just going to say what she's thinking. Ashley's kind of known for maybe some harsh truths, perhaps, but she's very candid. And I want you to kind of talk to me about that. Have you always been that way? Did you come into your voice, and has it ever backfired?
Well, it used to backfire all the time. I can say that it took me a while, which is interesting. If you ask my mom, I used to be really, really shy, which is crazy. I started off dancing. That's what my life stream was. I danced until I was like 20, 25, 26. I did ballet dance. So, but when I was little, like, it was time for us to go out on the stage. There's my friend Tiff right there. I started dancing with her grandma. She had like one of the first African dance companies in Columbus, Ohio. So I started dancing with her. Everybody would go out on the stage, and I would like hold my mom's leg and be crying. And I would not go out. So my mom, yes. I was extremely shy, but now that I realize, I don't really think kids that are shy are shy. I think we can feel people's energy and we understand. And I didn't know how to like articulate that as a kid, because I'm still that way now, but I understand the power in that. So I joined this program called Youth to Youth.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like in 8th grade, and I was homeschooled, so I lied and said I was in the 9th grade just because like I just wanted to do something and be around more kids. And I joined this organization called Speakers Bureau, and I started doing like speaking training and going to different schools, and like we went through this whole training process of how to speak in public and how to express yourself. So after I did that, I just came out of my shell. So I was literally really in 8th grade when it became comfortable for me to speak in large groups. But prior to that, I've always spoke my mind. Like I was the kid when my mom said no, I would get like a whole notebook and come out and be like, let's discuss why you said no, and like try to create a dissertation on why to change her mind. So I've always been very diplomatic and been the type of person to articulate themselves. Just when it came to strangers, it took me a longer time to get there.
Okay.
And you asked, did it ever backfire?
Yes.
Yes. Because I had to learn the art in, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. And that took me a really long time, even like marriage counseling long time, for me to learn that everything that you feel, it does need to be expressed. But how are you expressing it?
Yeah.
Is it in a healthy way? Is it in a productive way? And for me, one thing that I learned from being married too is that what is the end goal of what you want? I want to stay married. I want to stay with my husband. So why am I saying what I'm saying? And how is this helping our marriage? How is this helping our relationship? And I take that mentality into everything I do. Do I want this job? Do I want to get fired? How am I going to say this? You know what I mean? So like that is something that took me a really long time to learn. I went to therapy to learn it.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. So you mentioned before that you had a long history in dancing. How did you come into being a writer?
So I say you are born things. I've always been a writer. I used to write with my sister. She passed away when I was 22 and she was 24 years old. But we used to create like little magazines together, and she came up with this perm a long time ago. She used to just come up with like perm names and stuff, and we would make like whole like articles and like act out stuff in front of my mom. So I've always expressed myself by writing. Even when I was moving to, I'll never forget, I was moving to California, and my mom told me to come over and like get some stuff that I had like in the closet, and me and my best friend were going through my things, and she found a journal of mine, and like every page was like, I hate my mom today, or my brother, like just crazy stuff. And my friend was like, yo, you're nuts. She was like, but you literally wrote out like every feeling you had. It would be dated and the time of day, and it would be like super detailed. So I've always been a writer, but my dream, like, I feel like you have multiple dreams in life and multiple purposes. But for me, the one thing that consistently moved me was just dance. Like, as soon as I would hear music, I would just visualize myself dancing on a stage or think of dance routines. And it was just something that had always been in my soul. I had my daughter at 24, and I lived in New York at the time when I was pregnant with her. And I moved there because I was following my dance career. And after I had her, it didn't make sense for me to stay there because me and Chea, my now husband, who's my boyfriend at the time, he had purchased a home here. So I was like living on top of a bodega in New York pregnant. And he was like, I have a house in Columbus. Our family's here. Like,
Yeah.
But, right. So I ended up coming back here, and my daughter turned 3, and she was like really sad and depressed because she wasn't dark and as me. She's like really like way lighter than I am. And so I was trying to find like children's books and things that like celebrated all different skin tones and that would make her feel good, and there really wasn't anything that was celebrating all skin tones. Like there were books that were specifically for black children or books that had like all white children in it, but there was nothing that was celebrating like all children. So that's why I created the Beautiful Me book, because I wanted her to have something that she felt good about, and also other children. Because for me, I always say what I support is usually going to be black things because I'm a black woman. But what I create has to be inclusive because my child is not walking through this world the same way that I am. So that's why I created the book, and I just started writing more after that, like as far as like publishing my writing and like really sharing it with more people.
Okay, awesome. So you said something interesting. You said that people can have multiple dreams. I like that point because I have been kind of fixated. I can get fixated on one thing for a long time, and then when things don't work out, I'm stuck. Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How have you pivoted from one thing to another? What are some challenges that you may have faced that caused you to think through perhaps a goal or a dream or desire that you had and look at it in a different way?
Well, one thing about me for sure is that I've never been the type of person who just focuses on one thing. Okay. So it works to my benefit and also to the detriment of me. And so because even though I was like dancing, I was still always doing a lot of other things. Like I created the Beautiful Me project when I created my children's book, and I'm going to schools and talking to kids about self-esteem. And I used to feel crazy, like, you're only supposed to be good at one thing, and you're only supposed to do one thing in life. And that's kind of like been like what people feed you, you know, like focus on this one craft, and once you master that, then move to the next. That works for some people, but what I can say is that you really have to learn yourself. Like what moves you? How are you motivated? How do you work through life? If you're the type of person who can only do one thing at a time, then use that method. If you can do multiple things and be good at it, then do multiple things. What did you ask me again? I feel like I'm not answering your question.
No, you are. I was just asking about how you pivot when things don't go.
Let me bring it home. Yes. Okay, sorry. I'm like, wait a minute.
When things don't go a certain way, how do you pivot?
See, that's how my mind works. Like I've been thinking about 5 different things. Yes, how I pivoted. So I don't necessarily pivot. What I do is I start working on all the things that I really love, and then whatever is getting the most traction, then I might like pause a couple things
Okay.
and be like, okay, I'm gonna like get this a little bit further. But like currently, right now, I am working on my second children's book.
Okay.
I'm doing my Beautiful Me campaign, so I'm throwing these events where I talk to women and we talk about love and body image and all of that. I'm in an organization called Moms in Color in California, so we throw events for women of color. Then I'm also working on a TV script right now that we're, a pilot that we're taking to networks. And I have 3 kids, and I homeschool my oldest daughter. So like I am doing all the things, and
right.
I have to be a wife, And sometimes I feel like I'm doing 50 things, and all of those things are only getting 50%. But actually, it works better for me because what can happen in life is you can focus on one thing and it could not work out at the moment, and that can make you stressed, it can make you depressed, it can make you feel like you're not fulfilled. But if you sometimes work on a couple things, this thing might hit off before this other thing does.
Right.
And then it kind of gives you like self-esteem and makes you feel good about yourself, like, all right, this might not be working out, but this is going really, really good. So that's one thing that I do. I think it's like a daily pivot. Like, I'm not, this script isn't working out the way, like I'm not writing good today, but I was a really good mom, you know what I mean? Like, or
Right.
I did, so that is kind of like how I move through life in general. I pivot daily into whatever is like working the best for me at that moment.
I'm going to take that advice. I like how you integrate your life as a mom into like your social media presence. You're not just an author, not just a wife, but you integrate all of these things on social media. If y'all don't follow Ashley, Watermelon Egg Girls, check out her tag. Social media can kind of be like a misnomer to some people. Social media influencers is also kind of an overused term. Do you consider yourself a social media influencer? Do you subscribe to that title for yourself?
So originally, I did not want to consider myself an influencer just because there was like a negative connotation that came
Sure.
with that. And I wanted to be taken seriously
Yeah.
as a writer, especially in the film industry.
Right.
So it's like, unfortunately, when you're moving through those different groups, especially in LA, it's very much a small circle. People are like less respected, like, oh, she's just an influencer,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
For sure.
However, I have come into a space where I've become really comfortable with just being who I am. And first of all, we're all influencers. I don't care how many followers you have on Instagram. We are all influencing somebody. You don't
Sure.
even know half the time the people that are watching you, that are looking at your page, that you are giving some type of hope to.
Yeah.
And so that is one thing that I learned from being on Instagram. When I first started on there and I had 100 followers, and then it just continued to gradually grow. I still had the same, even if it's just like one person reaching out to me like, yo, what you posted today really made me feel good. It touched me. That's really like what makes me feel good. So I feel good now saying that I'm an influencer because I know that what I'm doing is positive and
Sure.
I'm sharing like positive stories. So I am an influencer of many things, but every single person that's on Instagram is, whether it's negative or positive, you're sending a message and you're influencing somebody.
Absolutely, I like that. Tell me more about the Beautiful, Beautiful Me campaign. You talked a little bit about your book and how kind of that got started, but how have you taken it beyond just the books and the page?
So the Beautiful Me campaign came from my book, Beautiful, Beautiful Me, which is a children's book that celebrates like all different skin tones. And from that, I started going to schools, first elementary schools, and just reading the story. And then I was like, I want to incorporate like some type of workshop with it. So I would talk to the kids about self-love, and we would do like different projects. And then I realized the importance of that, so I started taking it to middle schools and then high schools, and I went to a couple colleges. And now I'm like redirecting it and hosting like more specific events that have like different titles. But that's pretty much where it came from. It's just from the book, it developed into its own program. And I really love it because it's just a really good way to talk to women specifically about how they're feeling about their bodies, about life in general.
Okay, great. And also, Ashley is going to be in Columbus for another week. She's doing another event around beauty, and tell us where that's going to be.
So that is going to be at Flat 51. It is from 4 to 7. on the 21st.
21st, yeah.
The 21st. And so it's just anyone can come. Well, there's limited tickets. There's only like a few left. But we're going to be discussing beauty and what that means to us as women and how we interpret that with given society and social media and everything. So it's going to be a dope time.
Okay, awesome. Can somebody tell me how I'm doing on time? Is anybody tracking my time?
Nobody's
No
here.
one.
Let's just talk
Okay.
until they tell us stop.
Exactly. But I do want to give anybody from the audience a chance to ask any questions of Ashley about her journey as a creative, if there are any. Anybody have any questions from the audience? Yes, Adrian.
Hi, how are you? So I do follow you on social media. I have a food page because I really like to eat. I like to try new restaurants here in Columbus where I like to travel. So your name that you picked for your Instagram page, how did you come up with that name? Because I feel like there's so much that can grab your attention to the name. So how did you come up with that?
Real quick, Ashley, let me just repeat the question in case people didn't hear. She wanted to know how Ashley came up with the name Watermelon Egg Rolls.
So how I came up with that is because when I was thinking of my blog and when I wanted to start talking about like stereotypes and things and just showcasing my family and the truth behind my family in just an authentic way, like I wanted to just share what was happening in my life. And I just was thinking about like stereotypes of Black people and Asian people, which is watermelon and egg rolls. And so I just simply put them together, and that just became my brand name. And then when you hear it, sometimes it makes some people offended and some people are like, oh, that's cute. And then they go to the page and then they see like, oh, this is like completely different than what I thought. So I just like that, like, you know, bait and switch a little bit. But if you are creating any brand, the best thing I can say as far as like creating a name for your brand, I always tell people, think about it. Where do you want to go with your brand? Do you want your logo to be on a t-shirt? Do you want your logo to be on a bag? Like what types of things or where do you see your logo going? And that kind of should help you, how you're going to design your logo, number one. And then number two, the name, it should be something that's authentic to you, that means something to you. I am the type of person where I'm very spiritual, and I very much believe in God, but I'm not religious at all. Like, I was raised Muslim and Christian, and we used to go to, like, Hare Krishna stuff, and I think I got way too much religion growing up that I was like, but we're, like, a very spiritual family, and I feel like God talks to everybody. Everybody just doesn't listen. And so, for me, I feel like I get like everything that I've ever created that's been successful, it has happened when I was sleeping, and I literally wake up out of my sleep and I hurry up and write it down. Like whatever that I did, my children's book, I was asleep. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning and I wrote the book in 30 minutes. Like
Wow.
every single word just came pouring out of me. Watermelon egg rolls came when I was sleeping. The idea for my show that I'm working on, the TV script, when I was sleeping, like everything. So whether you're sleep or
So we need
meditation,
to sleep more?
meditate,
Meditate.
quietness. I think that's the reality of it. I have
Like,
3
okay.
kids. It's never quiet in my house until everybody sleep.
Right.
But I think that taking time for yourself and creating space where you're meditating or just clearing your mind and you can really just listen. You know what I mean? Like listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Then that will come to you, like a creative name or something or whatever it is you want to do with your life.
Yeah. Talk to me about, I'm sorry, any other questions?
Don't be weird, guys. It's okay. Ask your question.
Talk to me about your creative process. So you mentioned you're working on a script. How long have you been in that process, and what's kind of your journey to getting to the end, starting from the beginning? Tell us
Right.
more about that.
So how it came about really is, this is one thing I can tell people. I really believe in speaking things to an existence, and don't let people make you feel weird about an idea that you have. And so everything that I've gotten has been from me saying it out loud to different people or even to myself. So that's why I'm like be very mindful of the things you speak over yourself and the things that you say in general, because that stuff comes to light. So for me, I have a friend who is Issa Rae's like business manager, and we were just having a conversation, and I was like, man, I have this dope idea for this TV show. And then, you know, like how people would be like, no, don't say nothing or blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's just like came to me in my sleep. So I was like, I'm going to share it. So I told him about it. This was 3.5, almost 4 years ago, right?
Wow, okay.
So I told him about the idea, and he was like, yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. So then a year after that, he hits me up, and he's like, yo, let's go out to eat. I mean, we talked all the time, but this was like a separate, let's go out to eat. He's like, bring Chea. So then we came, and we went to eat, and he was like, tell me that idea again. So I told him, and he was like, I like that. Now, what about the other idea, too? Because I told him, too. So I told him that. He was like, okay, write that down. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, make a script, and I'm going to hit up Issa, and we're going to meet her. And then I was like,
Oh.
And so I took the time to like write the script, and then I went to dinner with her and I told her the idea, and she loved it, and she was like, yo, I definitely want to be a part of that. This is almost 3 years ago, mind you. And so then I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm still broke. And so, like I'm chilling at home and I'm just taking the time to like really write out the script. And so it's not easy to write a script. I didn't go to school for film. I went to school for dance and journalism. So I went on the school of Google. There's literally no reason why anyone cannot find the answer to something or figure out how to do something, because YouTube and Google exist. So you have to really be trying not to learn.
That's true.
So I went to the school of Google and I looked up scripts, how to write a TV script, how to write a pilot, how to, all of that. And so I started doing it. I downloaded all of my favorite TV shows, looked at their pilots, how was this written, what, like how did it get picked up? So I wrote the script. I gave it to Issa. She was like, I wrote it, first of all, I'm going to tell you guys this because I don't know if anyone out here wants to write. I wrote it in Word. You do not write scripts in Word document.
Don't do that, yeah.
That's not how you write a script. So I gave it to her. She laughed. And she's a Capricorn like me, so we get each other. But no, she laughed. She was like, well, this is really cute. But she's hella dope. And she was like, so you write your scripts in Final Draft. And then my homegirl, Cody, who did the Black Love That's on OWN, she and her husband, they knew about my idea. I showed them my mini script, and they purchased Final Draft for me. This is like $300, and I didn't have the extra money for that. I live in LA. And so they were like, we believe in you. We love your idea. They purchased Final Draft for me, and my homegirl Cody was like, I really love you. Like, I think this is dope. I want to help you make this happen. And so after I said what I wanted to do with my life and I really started working towards it, like all these different people really started playing a major role in trying to help this come to light. And we went to HBO, we pitched them my idea, they loved it, but I was just working with someone else that they didn't want to work with. And so they were like,
no.
But then she's not with us anymore, so it's back to them. But either way, like this has been a 3-year process. So, when you see my show on TV,
That's right.
don't think that it just happened overnight. Like, this is a long time going. And look, I always say this, like, my husband, he manages an artist, and they're friends with people who have way more money than we have. And it'll be like, you get invited to a party, you go and you're with these millionaires, and they're partying, and then you go back home and be like, I do not live like that. You know what I mean? And you can get down on yourself, or you can feel inadequate. But what I realized too is like when something is in your spirit and it's supposed to happen, it will happen. And I believe that everything happens when it's supposed to happen. Sure. Because the type of mother that I am, like I wanted to breastfeed my kids. I wanted to homeschool my kids. I want to be with my kids all the time. And I had 2 kids back to back. So I knew that when I was going to those meetings with Issa and HBO and stuff, like I just had a baby like a month ago. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to dedicate myself to, my career. If it would have popped off, like I would have had all this regret. Like I wasn't with my baby. And that is the most important thing to me. So for me, I feel glad that like now they're getting older and I feel better about leaving them at home or getting a sitter or whatever it is I need to do for me. So I do feel like you just continue to do what is in your heart and work towards it, and it will manifest when it's supposed to manifest. And, now going on almost 4 years of, working on this show, my kids will be, like I said, will be older, and I can really dedicate the time to make that happen.
That's dope. Everybody get up for Ashley.
Oh.
Yeah. So I just want to tell you, just as a friend, I'm super proud of you. I love, the insight that you gave about, using your resources, being true to who you are, and giving time for the process. I think that piece of advice for me specifically will go a long way, and I'm very hopeful that it will do the same for everybody listening. So I think that's our time. Thank you so much. Oh, it's not our time. Oh, we got more time.
You want to ask me, girl? Oh, okay.
They told me I had 20 minutes. Okay.
Well, they lied.
Anybody else have any questions? Oh, okay. Well, then that means we have more questions. Does anybody have any other questions?
Oh, yes, you with the bun.
You've been a creator here in Columbus, and you've been a creator in LA. What are some of the differences you've encountered, not just geographically, but maybe energetically? And is there anything you want to see, like, us in Columbus adapt, or
Good question.
hold true or what?
Did everybody hear that question?
That was a good question.
Okay.
She wants you to repeat it.
I will repeat the question. So Ashley is from Columbus, has created things in Columbus, and now she's in LA for how many years now?
4? 4, I think. Going
4
on 5,
years. Okay. So the question was, what are the differences creating here and there? What are the different energies, and what
Man.
can we incorporate here in Columbus?
I love Columbus so much. Let me start with that. But if I'm gonna keep it 100,
And you will.
I will. The reality is that when I always say this, people don't ever want to see you for who they are. They always want to see you for who you were. And so the problem with creating and sometimes even evolving as a human being around people that know you, or I like to say knew you, is that they don't give you that space. Do you know what I mean? And so I don't like to say woke, whatever, but I was raised very, for lack of better terms, woke. Yeah, conscious, thank you. My mom always raised me to be aware of what was going on, and I've always tried to be a part of things. And, you know, we were like in Africa dance, African community, all of these things. But as I got older, and I started to try to throw events or do things here, like it would be no one would show up or no one would support. And then when I got on social media, when I was looking at my metrics. Jesus, Ashley, thank you.
Social media
Okay.
metrics.
When I was looking at those, it was all from New York, or it was all from LA, or it was all from everywhere but Columbus, Ohio. And so when I moved to LA and I did my first event, case in point, I did a book. When I came out with my book, I came home. I did a book signing here. 5 people came. I did one in LA. It was sold out. And I didn't know any of those people. And it was just crazy to me because it's like, these are complete strangers, you know what I mean? Like supporting me and just really loving on me, and I'm coming back to my hometown and it's like cricket. And so sometimes I feel like when you're around people that know you, it's like they want to wait until you've really made it, and they'd be like, I knew her. Do you know what I mean? But they don't want to be a part of the slow grind or the process of you getting there. And so I would like for Columbus to just be more supportive. You know what I mean? Be supportive. When you have local artists, go to their shows. You know what I mean? When someone comes out with something, purchase it. Like, don't wait until somebody is at the top of their career and then be like, have your hand out and want them
Oh,
to
I
help
know her.
you or bring down.
I
I know her, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know me, honey. That's what I would say. I don't know you.
Right.
So that's one thing that I would really like for people to start supporting one another more and coming here. Like, this should be sold out every single year. You know what I mean? This is such a dope event. If they do this event in LA, it would be sold out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want people to stop acting like they are too good to support one another, because it's crazy to me.
That's a great question. Any other questions?
Oh, no, you were...
You was she was
We thought you had a
signifying like
question.
that. Right here.
Yes, sir.
Hey, so I really like how you said something about your book. You said that you support Black, but because we have a child, we have to support inclusivity. And I really like that. I don't have any children or anything like that, but I'm a very inclusive person. But that's a different perspective to have of being Black. So can you just talk a little bit about that?
Right. I mean, I think everyone's identity...
Real quick, I'm
oh,
going to
yeah,
interrupt
sorry.
you. Let me repeat the question. Ashley mentioned before that as a Black woman, she supports most things that are Black-owned or Black-powered. And as a mom whose children are multiracial, she incorporates inclusivity, and speak more to that.
Okay. So, I mean, for me, growing up, everyone's identity of being Black is different, and what that means to them, that it's a Black person. My mom is Puerto Rican and Black, and she got her genealogy test and realized she's really just very white. But she grew up identifying as a Black woman. That was really important to her. And so that's how I was raised, as a Black person. I understand that my mom, my grandfather was white. I know that already, but my mom still said that she was Black, and that's how I was raised, as a Black person. But it's very clear that my husband is not Black, and my children, I'm sorry, I'm just one of those people. I don't believe in telling everybody they have to be black. Like, you know what I mean? People be black by convenience, you know? Like, it's okay for Obama to be black, but then people don't want to call other people black when they're biracial. And I just think that stuff is problematic within itself. So for me, I think that you should identify however you want to, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Just understand how you'll be perceived and treated in America. And that's the conversation I have with my daughters. They'll never understand what it's like to be a dark-skinned black woman in America. That's not their plight. But I do tell my daughter, Amira, like, if you identify as a brown-skinned girl or you want to say that you're multiracial, that's fine. Just understand that when you walk outside of this house and people even think you're black, which is sad, you're going to be treated these specific ways. But because I identify as a black woman, I always want to support black businesses. I want to always support anything that's black owned, and especially black women. That's just important to me. But I don't feel right creating something that is specifically for black women, and I know my daughter is not going to see herself that way. And it just doesn't make sense for me to create things that would isolate my own children. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so that's why I'm really, it's just really important for me why I made Beautiful Me the children's book. And plus, there's lots of black women out there who are going to create things just for black women that I'm going to buy and give to my nieces that are, you know, black or whatever. And it's fine. I don't think, that's the other thing. We don't have to be in every single lane. It's okay. Like, if you create from an authentic space, then it will translate. And I believe that is how your career will advance. And that's where I create, love, and power too. Like, you have to love what you're doing. You have to believe in it. It has to be authentic to you. And you have to understand that you can be in many spaces, but also own your space. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be every black woman's voice. This is just my voice and my perspective in my life. And there's people out there who have multiracial children that's going to help. You know what I mean? And the things that I'm creating are going to help them. And you're going to create stuff for little black kids, and it's going to help them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
It's important to have all those different voices.
Absolutely. Any other questions from the audience? I have another question.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So, the theme for CCF this year is Elevate. What does Elevate mean to you, and can you give us a specific example of how you had to elevate in something?
Elevate for me is mental health. And I can say that because I feel like I used to be one of those people who was reactionary, and so I kind of used everything that happened to me as an excuse as to why I did something or why I said something or how I behaved, you know, never taking ownership of myself. And I think the moment that I started being like, Ashley, how did you contribute to this situation? How did this end up that way? Number one, I was freed from disliking a lot of people because I'm like, well, if I'm having interactions with people, relationships, friendships, and I'm saying all these negative things about this person, I was with that person. I was that person's friend. So I'm that person. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
you can't just put everything on everybody else. You have to take ownership. There obviously are situations that you have no control over, and there's things that are just, there's no explanation for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it is completely the other person's fault. But I'm talking about in general in life when you're having negative interactions. How are you responding to somebody? How are you reacting? Like, did you push that person and now you're acting like you have no, idea why it even happened? And so for me, when I started, just with my husband too, like, okay, how did I ask him? You know what I mean? How did I ask him this question? Or how did I respond to him or my children? Like, what am I doing to contribute to any of these situations in my life that are not positive? I started taking accountability, and I started having different reactions, and I started having a better life, better friendships, better situations. And I feel like that's what made me elevate as a human being in general, is just being able to see my contribution to this planet, to this world, to interactions with other humans, and what I'm doing and what I'm getting out from it and how I have complete control over it.
That's great. I think I have one more question, and then I'm going to be done, you guys. Let me find my question.
Okay, yes, go.
Oh, go ahead.
I look forward to seeing your story every day.
Aw.
I just want to say thank you for what you do and being out there and show to me like that I can live the life that you're living. I'm creative.
Aw.
I just got married last year.
Congratulations.
So I'm in an interracial marriage, and so it just means a lot to me to see you.
Oh, thank you. You know what?
great.
That's why I like Instagram stories, because I feel like pictures are always beautiful, right? Like you can take a dope picture. Well, not when my husband takes them.
Yes,
But
we
when
know.
other people take
We know.
pictures of me, they're really beautiful and dope and amazing. But when Instagram stories came out, I was like, man, this is a way for people to realize that my life is real. So I usually never use, well, I don't use filters or wear makeup anyways. Like I have it on today, but that's just because I was like, where are these pictures gonna go? But for the most part, like when I'm doing my stories and everything, I just want people to see, like, number one, I have 3 kids, you know what I mean? And I'm stressed out sometimes, and they get on my nerves sometimes, and my hair is not done 90% of the time. And I just want people to see that, like, that's real motherhood. Like, well, that's not true. That's my version of motherhood. Because I have a friend who goes and gets her hair done every week, and she has a child. She's got her money set up different than mine. So her hair always looks good. But my version of motherhood is just that, like, that's not where my finances are going. I can't do that. And so I just want people to see, like, the reality behind all of these beautiful pictures. It's a chance for me to just share my family in an authentic way that's not set up, posed, and filtered. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that is what people connect to, is when you're authentic. And people, this is like a little bit over that, but if you're on social media, I feel like you should only be on social media for 2 reasons. You're either stalking people, which is a fun hobby if you have the time, or you're gaining something and giving something. I'm just going on a rampage real quick.
Go ahead,
If
Bar.
you're a creative and you have a social media page and I go to your page and I have no idea what you do with your life, then you should not be on social media. If you want to be a singer, there should be some songs on your page. If you want to be a rapper, you want to make beats, I should be able to go to your page and I see some beats on there or hear some beats or something. Do you make clothes? Like, I want to see you at the club. I want to see the clothes that you make. Do you know what I mean? Like, This is the easiest way to have access to people that can help you. With me, with social media, when I got on, I started following Mara Barker-Kill. I started following all these other people who are doing what I wanted to do. And I would message them, or I reach out to them, or I would like pictures, or I would comment on things. You know what I mean? And this was before people were realizing, like, I should actually follow people that are doing what I want to do. So I was able to have interactions with them real easy because they had like 100 followers. So that's number one when you're on social media. Don't really pay attention to people's followers because people buy them and a lot of it is not genuine. You need to be making sure that you're following people that inspire you. Like if someone's doing something that you want to do, don't feel like you don't want to follow them because it makes you jealous. Like don't ever be jealous of anyone else's life because everybody has their own turmoil and their own things that they're battling with every single day. You need to be inspired by that and be like, you know what? I need to write today. They wrote today. Let me go write. That's how I use it. I follow people that are doing what I want to do and doing it better than me, in any form of life. Because when I get on social media, I want to be inspired. I don't want to look at club pictures or just random stuff and your, bad pictures that y'all taking with your iPhones. Like, how y'all even taking bad pictures with your iPhone? Like, wipe the camera off. It's not that hard. Like, it's an iPhone. My God. But I'm just saying, like, utilize your social media to share your career, to share what you want, and connect with other people that can help you advance your career. Don't ever be intimidated by anybody else because everybody has their own shit. You just don't see it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just don't see it.
Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Do you have any books with you today?
I do. Chea's going to go get them. They're in the car. They're in the car. I do. I have books with me, so if you want to purchase one, you can. They're in the car.
Yes. And outside of the books you have today, how else can we get your book?
If you go to my Instagram page, there's a link, and you
Okay.
can just purchase it through there. It's on Square, so that's another way to sell your own books or any type of business
Right.
that you have. So I have like a shop on Square, and you can just purchase it on there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody give it up again for Ashley Chea.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mama told me brown